I'm Aaron Ogunro. I'm an attorney at Polsinelli in the Chicago office. I'm in the Technology Transactions and Data Privacy Group. We handle everything from technology transactions to data privacy counseling to data security incidents and everything kind of in between in that area as well. I've been doing this for quite some time, and I enjoy this thoroughly. And data privacy obviously encapsulates a lot of the AI issues that we're focusing on a regular basis. A lot of companies now are using AI internally and externally. A lot of people are using it for their own internal processes, whether that's employment or other areas for marketing. Also, most commonly, people are embedding it into their own products and solutions on a regular basis, whether that's being provided to individuals or companies. And so, in both of those scenarios, there are four main areas I think companies should focus on when it comes to the use of AI. The first is understanding any assessments that you have to do, making sure those assessments are aligned with any regulatory requirements or contractual requirements you might have with customers, making sure you're taking into account privacy and security issues, any explainability issues, any biases that may kind of occur because of your use of AI technology. That's probably the one area that you want to make sure you're documenting on a regular basis. Two, very importantly, is confidentiality. You don't want to be inputting proprietary information or type of personal data. For healthcare startups, medical records are also very important that you want to avoid putting into these AI solutions. As we know, is that a lot of other companies, a lot of other individuals put information into these generative AI tools on a daily basis, and you want to make sure that that information is not given in an unintended way to other third parties by inputting them into AI tools. Third is transparency. A lot of laws kind of require you to provide notice to make sure you're providing an upfront notice to individuals that you're using AI in your technology and your products. And so transparency is very important in that respect. Making sure you're being truthful about what you're doing with AI is always a good idea. And lastly, human oversight is very important. You can't always rely on the output that AI provides. So making sure you're reviewing on a regular basis kind of what that generative AI is kind of producing to make sure it's accurate, to make sure it's good enough for your customer, for individuals, is always going to be important to make sure there's the human overlooking everything that an AI outputs. A great myth right now is that there are no regulations. It's the wild west of AI and the use of such technology, which is not really the case. Right now, I think Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. Has been very bold, and they're saying they're going to enforce it through the FTC Act, which is unfair and deceptive practices with the use of AI. And so it's important to understand that yes, while there's maybe not a law specifically in the U.S. that provides these direct requirements on AI, there are still a lot of other regulatory frameworks on the state and federal level that can provide such kind of regulatory frameworks for the use of AI. The FTC Act is the main area, so you have to make sure that you're doing things in a fair and transparent manner if you're using the use of AI. We also have a lot of state privacy laws that are in place that address similar issues such as automated decision making or profiling. So using these automated technologies to come to some sort of decision based on an individual or based on another type of input of data. So you want to make sure that if you're going to be subject to those state laws, right now we have in effect Colorado, California, Virginia, and Connecticut are laws that people have to be mindful of in this space when it comes to those ideas. And there are many other state laws that have been enacted that will come into effect in the next 1 or 2 or 3 years in this area. So making sure that you understand those requirements as well. And the White House has also put out a Bill of Rights when it comes to the use of AI, which is primarily focused on transparent use of AI, on any type of discrimination or biases that may come from the use of AI. And that's just in the US. Obviously, if you have an international market, you also have to keep in mind of the EU AI Act, which is going to come into effect in a couple of years, and other areas and other international jurisdictions that have similar laws that are coming forward. Yes, it's definitely possible for startups or a company of any size really to be held responsible for the use of AI, whether that's through contractual measures, regulatory measures, or maybe even direct lawsuits or liability that may arise from individuals. From an individual perspective, if you're using AI internally for promotion decisions, or if you're using it for other type of hiring decisions and using AI in that aspect, there's a lot of state laws now that kind of address that on the city and state level and the use of that, and that's that's primarily providing notice. If you have to provide opt-outs, individuals in some states and some cities have the ability to opt out of the use of AI in application or hiring decisions. So you have to be mindful of that. You also have contractual obligations. So if you're going from company to company, you're selling your AI tool to another customer, to another company, you have to keep an idea that they're providing you confidential information. You have to be very wary of providing their confidential information to these AI tools, especially if that's going to be aggregated across all customers or across all public information as well. I would say every 6 to 12 months is the appropriate time to be reviewing and assessing your AI models internally and externally. On top of that, if you are providing new versions or new updates to your AI technology, or kind of shifting how you're using AI internally for your own processes, then every single time that you do have that shift or a new version or a new update, then you should be considering reassessing that AI technology and that AI tool to make sure it's up to date with new laws, to make sure that you're providing notice. So if you have to change any contracts, or if you have to change any notices that you're providing individuals, you can do that on a regular basis, understanding that every version, every update, every time you change something internally, you should kind of address that new assessment, understand the explainability factors that are behind the use of AI, the biases that may or may not be inherent in the use of that AI technology, and then also making sure that your notices are all aligned with that use that you're using it for. The most important advice I can give to startups for AI solutions is making sure that they have an internal policy in place. Whether they're using it internally or whether they're using it in their products and solutions, you want to make sure that you have an internal policies about the do's and don'ts about how to use AI technology. Primarily, the do's and the don'ts may align with make sure you don't provide confidential information or your important source code into such technology. Do make sure that you're following your internal policies, making sure that you're doing the ethical thing that's right, and making sure that you have some sort of human oversight over every decision that's made. So this should all be put into paper to make sure that your personnel, employees know that you have this. And I wouldn't be surprised in the future that if you have customers, they're also going to require to see your AI usage policy as well. On top of that, making sure there's trainings associated with that policy will be important. And the next most important thing is maybe creating an internal group that can then handle the use of AI within your company to make sure there's important stakeholders involved, whether that's people from the C-suite, the board, other security personnel, anyone that may be involved or in the development and use of AI solutions and tools. You want to make sure you have them in the room to make sure they're making the right decisions on the use of AI.